Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something you specifically requested, a deep dive into grit at work by Duckworth and her team.
Oh yeah, this will be good.
We're going beyond surface-level definitions here to really extract what's most useful from this paper, for you, the listener.
Absolutely. We'll unpack what makes grit different from similar concepts, how it actually plays out in achieving tough goals, and this is key, how organizational factors can either nurture or squash grit.
Okay, let's unpack this. You hear grit everywhere these days,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's become this buzzword that's kind of lost its meaning.
Right.
What's the nuance here that someone smart should actually care about?
It's a good question because grit is more than just working hard.
Right.
Duckworth's research highlights two components. We need to understand passion and perseverance.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Passion is that deep commitment to top-level goals, the kind that lasts for years.
Yeah.
Like Elon Musk with SpaceX, even when people thought it was crazy, that unwavering vision fueled him for over 2 decades.
So passion is the why that keeps you going. What about perseverance? Isn't that just a fancy word for stubbornness?
Not quite. It's that I'll figure it out attitude, that relentless problem solving in the face of setbacks.
Okay.
Think of someone like Malala Yousafzai continuing to advocate for girls' education even after being targeted by the Taliban.
Wow.
That's perseverance.
Okay, so it's passion is the compass and perseverance is the engine. But how does grit stack up against ideas like resilience or a growth mindset? Are they all just different names for the same thing?
There are definitely overlaps, but grit has its own flavor. Duckworth found it's often a better predictor of success than things like talent alone, especially in really challenging fields.
Wait, so you're telling me someone with more grit can actually outperform someone who's naturally more talented? That's pretty counterintuitive.
It's a game changer, right? Talent and intelligence are great, but without grit, their potential might be wasted.
Right.
It's like having a high-performance car but never learning to drive it properly.
I like that.
You need both the engine and the skill.
That makes a ton of sense. So how does this translate to real-world success? Does grit just mean working harder, longer hours?
Not necessarily. The paper dives into something called a goal hierarchy, the strategic thinking behind grit.
Okay.
It's about working smart, not just hard.
I'm intrigued. Break that down for me.
Imagine a pyramid at the top, your ultimate concern, this is your North Star think, driving innovation in renewable energy or creating equitable access to education, something that resonates with your deepest values.
So it's not just a specific job title, it's the bigger why that gets you out of bed in the morning.
Exactly. Below that are your personal projects, mid-level goals that contribute to your ultimate concern.
Okay.
And finally, at the base, your daily to-do list, concrete actions aligned with those higher goals.
Yeah.
It's about constantly connecting the dots between what you're doing today and that larger vision.
That's powerful. But I'm picturing someone so laser focused on their goals that they're working 20/47, becoming a total workaholic.
Yes.
Is that what we're advocating for here?
Not at all. That's where the organizational piece comes in.
Okay.
This paper actually argues that workplaces can either foster or completely kill grit.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. You're telling me that my company can actually influence how gritty I am. Tell me more.
It's wild, right? Think of leaders as grit gardeners. If they embody grit themselves, it signals to their team that this isn't just some motivational poster on the wall. It's
Yeah,
a real thing.
So it's walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Got any examples of leaders who do this well?
Think about someone like Rosalind Brewer, the CEO of Walgreens.
Oh, yeah.
She's the first Black woman to lead a Fortune 500 company. Talk about navigating obstacles and shattering glass ceilings.
Right.
That's grit in action, and her team sees it every day.
That's a great example beyond just modeling it. What else can leaders do to foster grit?
The paper suggests that an authoritative style, being both supportive and demanding, helps employees connect with their passions while striving for excellence.
I feel like that word authoritative can have negative connotations.
Oh.
How is that different from just being a boss who barks orders?
It's about striking a balance. Think of a coach who pushes you hard but also believes in you and celebrates your wins.
Ah.
They create an environment where you can thrive even when things get tough.
Okay, so it's about high expectations, but with a safety net of support.
Yeah.
What about company culture? How does that play into this?
Greedy cultures are adaptable, encouraging experimentation and learning from mistakes. They understand that failure isn't the end of the world, it's a valuable data point.
So it's that whole fail fast, fail forward mentality.
Exactly. It's also about promoting a growth mindset, that belief that abilities can be developed. This creates a sense of psychological safety where people are more comfortable taking risks and stretching themselves.
I can see how that would be crucial for fostering perseverance,
Yeah.
especially when faced with setbacks. What about the actual jobs themselves? Can those be designed to nurture grit?
Absolutely. The paper argues that jobs that align with someone's values and interests spark passion. It's not just about punching the clock, it's about finding work that feels meaningful.
So it's less about fitting a square peg in a round hole and more about finding the right hole for the peg.
Exactly. And jobs that encourage specialization and mastery foster perseverance. Think of a master chef honing their skills over decades.
Right.
They're not just learning new recipes, they're constantly pushing their craft to new levels.
Makes sense. So we've got leadership walking the walk, a culture that embraces growth and adaptability, and jobs that are designed to be both meaningful and challenging. That sounds like a pretty solid recipe for grit.
It's a powerful combination, but even with all this, it's crucial to acknowledge the potential downsides of grit.
Okay, now this is where I think a lot of people get tripped up. Grit sounds great on the surface, but I can see how it could be taken too far.
Yeah,
What are the risks here?
burnout is a major concern. If someone's so intensely focused on their goals, they might neglect their well-being or push themselves past their limits, especially without the right support.
So it's not just about encouraging grit, it's also about building in safeguards to prevent people from burning out.
Exactly. And there's a risk of misguided persistence, sticking with a toxic job or relationship. Just because you're gritty can be incredibly damaging.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most gritty move is knowing when to walk away.
That takes a lot of self-awareness.
Mhm.
Any other potential pitfalls we should be watching out for?
Another risk is work-life imbalance. The drive to achieve can overshadow other important aspects of life, like family hobbies, even just taking time to relax and recharge.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, that balance between striving for excellence and living a fulfilling life outside of work.
Exactly, and that balance looks different for everyone. It's about being intentional and making choices that align with your values.
This conversation has been so insightful. It's making me rethink my own approach to work and how I can foster a more balanced sense of grit in my own life.
That's fantastic to hear. It's all about taking these concepts and making them work for you.
What stands out to you in this research? What are the most actionable takeaways for someone trying to cultivate more grit in their life?
What's fascinating is how this research connects grit to something called deliberate practice.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that term thrown around a lot. Isn't that how, like, Olympic athletes and real-class musicians get to the top of their game?
Exactly. It's a very structured, intentional approach to developing any skill. And this paper suggests that organizations can actually apply those same principles to job design.
Okay, I'm curious. How does deliberate practice work in a typical workplace?
It starts with setting really specific, challenging goals for skill development, not just, I want to get better at this, but clear targets that you're actively working towards.
So it's less about passively doing your job and more about constantly pushing yourself to learn and improve.
Exactly. And then when you're actually practicing, it's crucial to engage your full attention and effort. No distractions, no multitasking. It's about being totally present and focused on the task at hand.
That sounds intense. How realistic is that in a busy work environment with like constant emails and meetings?
It's a good point. It requires organizations to create dedicated time and space for deliberate practice, minimize distractions, block off time on the calendar, make it clear that this is a priority.
So it's about creating a culture that values focused effort and continuous learning.
Absolutely. Another key element of deliberate practice is feedback. And I'm not talking about your annual performance review.
Yeah.
It's about actively seeking input from colleagues, mentors, even customers, and using that feedback to refine your skills.
Just about building a feedback loop into the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the final step is to consistently repeat this cycle. Set a goal practice with intense focus, get feedback, then do it all over again. It's a continuous process of getting better and better.
This is really making me rethink how I approach my own professional development. It's like taking that athlete's mindset of constant improvement and applying it to my career.
That's the idea. And when companies embrace this approach, it creates an environment where grit can truly thrive. Because employees aren't just told to persevere, they're given the tools and support to constantly get better at what they do.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm already thinking about how I can incorporate some of these ideas into my own work and encourage my team to do the same.
It's all about taking these insights and making them work for you and your organization. Remember, Grit is not just about individual effort. It's also about creating a culture that supports and nurtures that drive.
This deep dive has been so valuable, and I know our listeners feel the same way. Before we wrap up, what's the one big takeaway you want to leave them with?
What's important to remember is this grit is a powerful tool, but it's only one part of the equation. Don't forget about those other crucial ingredients we've talked about. Self-awareness, knowing when to pivot, taking care of your well-being. Find that balance and you'll be unstoppable.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Until next time, keep exploring.